man developing his masculine side and a woman developing her feminine side, I believe, is one of the biggest areas of marriage in today's generation that people are working on. That this is where we are, and this is where we'd like to be. If it worked, no need to fix it. There's different energetics within the masculine and feminine. And I'm not coming from a place of like what it ought to be or what it should be because somebody decided it. I'm talking Mother Nature now. The science of spiritual energy, of the masculine and the feminine. So both man and woman contain masculine and feminine energy. Think of it like a recipe of a cake, okay? Like you make a salad dressing or something like that. You know, you taste it, it needs a little more salt, a little less this, a little more that. The masculine energy is the part of me that has direction and purpose and focus and can be decisive and can lead and it can be creative, as well as the part of me that wants to protect. And the masculine within a relationship is the side that's creating the energetic container where the feminine can exist. The feminine traits or energetic traits are love, nurture, flow, connection, light, and literally just life-giving. The feminine energy is creating the space where humans can literally gives life to them, where they can actually be. If it works, no need to fix it. But the machine, if you will, works a certain way. We're created in a certain way that a woman who's got a feminine core will be most fulfilled and most happy in her feminine when she's not in her protective. The nature is that it's exhausting for her to be in her masculine all the time. The thing is that they're dependent on one another. So when they're lacking, the feminine can only relax or surrender into her feminine, into her light-giving, love-giving, nurture space where she's not on guard, not trying to protect herself because she's in danger. When there's a safe energetic container for her to do so, she can let go and surrender completely into that space. Because there's a man who's dependable, consistent, because there's a masculine container that's holding that space for her. Where the men that are either over-identifying with their feminine energetic traits are overly developed, or their masculine not as developed as it ought to be or could be or should be. And the same on the flip side, the masculinization of women. And it's created within the marriage from fresh, this lack of safety. So their masculine is overly developed and they're filling the role of leading and direction for the family where the man is not filling. And it could be for a number of reasons, whether it's because of wounding or trauma as a child that a woman's had to protect herself and needed to overdevelop those sides of her. So again, this is just like, I look at it, I'm in music and sound, so I think of like a mixing board. You know, when the sound engineer is mixing the board, all you're doing is making space for everything. So you need to turn down the lows so there's more for the mids, or you need to turn down this instrument to make more room for that instrument so you get a clean, nice mix. A man developing his masculine side and a woman developing a feminine side, I believe, is probably one of the biggest areas of marriage in today's generation that people are working on. The masculine needs to work on adding more masculine traits, one step at a time, one baby step at a time, while she has to do the same thing. And they both need to take risks. So the first step is self-awareness. But then once you both have the awareness, you both need to understand that this is where we are and this is where we'd like to be. And we're both going to work on getting there. But the first step, I would say, is taking individual responsibility, each person for their energetic responsibility in the relationship of where they're heading towards. It's not your responsibility for me to get there, and it's not mine for you to get there. So when two individuals are taking full responsibility for the path that they're on and what they're trying to achieve, now you're set up for success. Now you can start the journey. A lot of people ask me, is it the chicken and the egg? Who needs to start in this masculine and feminine role? I look at the masculine and feminine role as really just a circulation or interaction of energy, and the two partners are really just the portal of where that energy kind of flows through. So in Chassidus and Kabbalah, it talks about a mashpia and a makabel, The man is the provider, the giver, or the one who initiates. The woman receives or invites or creates a space for him to do so. He's not going to lead without her. He's not going to take initiation without an invitation if he doesn't feel like it's welcome. So, like often we're in a conversation and you're like thinking up of your response while they're talking. You're not fully hearing what I'm saying when you're already listening to how am I going to respond. The ability to suspend all intellectual ego, where I'm just receiving the knowledge, the information, the wisdom that you're feeding me. Then now I have the capacity to receive a lot more. The feminine, in order for her to surrender, to receive what her husband has to offer her, if she doesn't trust what he's offering in order to receive, then she can't receive him properly. If he feels like what he's offering is not being received, he'll be de-energized. His light will be diminished. Essentially, whether he's conscious of this or not, he'll come to the conclusion what I have to offer is not valuable here. And he'll seek to, if he's healthy, he'll seek to find somewhere else, an unhealthy side of it, perhaps unconsciously, but he'll want to go somewhere where he's being received. So now you have this blockage where like she can't receive him because she doesn't trust him. He has nothing to give anymore because she's not receiving him. So now the pipeline of energy, of this circulation of energy, is effectively being shut down. So the chicken and the egg. Who starts? Again, I'm going to start off, I'll say this a million times, there's no rule, whatever works. But interestingly, the feminine has the power to open that flow by receiving him. So, Shay's tablet gave me an example, like, he comes home from work, he comes home from synagogue on Chabad, and he loves what he heard from the rabbi, and he wants to share it with his wife, let's say. If she can receive that with desire, and just a tiny little bit, whether it's a minute, it doesn't make it, we're talking about receiving something small and miniature from him. Now suddenly you've opened up. Now he's energized by the fact that you just received him, and now he wants to give more. He's energized to give more, his core essence. And now he'll want to give more, and now you'll be able to receive more from him, and now you starts to flow, okay? And so what happens is he hasn't shown up lately. She doesn't trust him energetically, right? She could be unconscious of this, but like, let's just say he's out to lunch with, I don't know, he doesn't share any responsibilities in the house, or he's just like, he's coming home from shul, he's had a couple of drinks, she's been with the kids all day by herself, and you come home from work and you want to, guess what happened to me at work today? So that now she has an opportunity to receive something from him, and that the last thing she wants to do is receive that from him. She's like, I don't want to hear a word from you right now. Like, I need you to and she has an opening here just for a moment, just for a minute to receive something from him. And by doing so, she can open up this flow, and then it'll slowly grow, and they'll energize each other by this flow. He'll be giving more, she'll be receiving more with more desire. The more he's receiving the desire, the more he's energized to want to show up for her more and be anything she needs him to be. The one thing that we need to clarify, and that's super important, is what he's offering has to be safe. She can't make the mistake of going out of her way to receive something she's not interested in receiving in the name of trying to get this thing kickstarted if it's not safe. That's dangerous. It's the feminine's role they have a very hard role here to discern what feels right and feels in integrity and what feels like that's not for me. And I talk about this a lot with the couples, where a man comes home and wants to be greeted with a certain energy. You want to be greeted you want to be greeted with nurture and with love, and if that space could be a place where you can unload and like put the day behind you. The stress of whatever you were dealing with during the day at work can be like, leave it at the door because you've come into this nurturing, light-filled space that soothes you or whatever. And the question men have to ask themselves is, how can I create that space where that need will be met, rather than walking into a space and expecting it. And so what we're very often doing is walking in and not seeing what we want, and then we wonder, and it's essentially victim mindset, like, why isn't it like this? And the victim question is, why isn't it like this? Why aren't you doing this for me? Or why, you start to focus on what you're not getting in the relationship, versus the healthy question. The effective question to ask is, how can I create that space? And therefore, essentially, the man is what should be coming home, bringing the energy, not sucking out the energy. not coming in wanting to take, but rather coming home wanting to give and support. And when we do that, we create the energetic space to receive at some point our own needs. There's a famous line, and some people, comedians use it as well, but it's real. I don't know who's attributed to it, probably based in Hasidus too, the concept, but they say, the feminine will multiply what you give it. If you bring love home with you, you're going to get back many times that from the feminine. If you bring light home, she's going to shine that light back on you. And the analogy of like of a baby, of a child, of a human. Look what the baby, look what she gives you back, right? And so the idea is of like our job as the masculine's role, I would say, is to bring home that energy that can support her, that can create the container where she can be that light for you and your children.